Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's dive into today's first story. Now, today's first story comes from a deleted user who just says he's the love of my life, but I, 27 female, don't know if I can handle the demands of my chef boyfriend's 26 male career. My boyfriend and I have been through some trying times over the past 4 years, and through it all, we've been each other's support. We complement each other so well. Long story short, he's the love of my life. When we first met, he was unemployed after recently quitting his job as an EMT. He said he was unsatisfied because he didn't feel like it was for him and was searching for direction. He mentioned before that he's always had a passion for cooking, so I urged him to follow his gut and do what would bring him happiness. I encouraged him to enroll in culinary school. Since then, he's moved up quickly, and after graduating and 2 years in the industry, he opened a hot new restaurant as a sous chef. He's really come alive since switching industries. He's got this fiery energy, this sparkle in his eyes when talking about the action in the kitchen, new recipes he's coming up with, or dreams of opening his own restaurant. I'm extremely proud of his accomplishments, and seeing this amazing passion he has for what he does makes me love him even more. He inspires me to follow my dreams. The thing is, I had no idea how demanding his career would be. I've never worked in the restaurant industry, and I've never personally met another chef before I started dating one. He works crazy hours, up to 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. We don't live together, and I only see him for a few hours on the weekends when I can stay up late. Half that time we're asleep, but it's 3 in the morning. I'm sleepy and he's exhausted. He's got 1 day off a week, if that, which is pretty much the only time he has to relax, catch up with family, friends, and me. I'm a 9 to 5er, and I'm asleep by the time he gets off work. I speak to him twice a day if I'm lucky. Once in the morning, which is a rushed 5-minute conversation since I'm at work, and once in the evening when he gets off work, which I hardly ever remember because I'm asleep and only half conscious. We can't text while he's working, which is all the time. He works every holiday. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day are all busy restaurant days. Birthdays and anniversaries are not guaranteed off either. Through it all, I've been super supportive. I've gotten kind of used to him not being around. I've taken up yoga and kickboxing and have started reading way more books and watching way more movies. I've even gotten kind of used to going to parties and events alone. Most days are okay. I keep myself so busy with friends and hobbies that I sometimes forget I miss him so much. But other days are horrible. Yesterday, he told me he made plans to see his friends in the evening when they get off work. After we hung up, I broke down in tears because I'd been looking forward to seeing him all week. But I can't even be mad. It's his only free day, and it's not fair for me to take up all his time. We hardly ever have sex. There's just no time and no energy. When we do spend time together on those rare Mondays, we don't go out because he's so tired. I cherish these moments just cuddled up on the couch because they don't happen often. I don't speak to him about my feelings of loneliness because I don't want to burden him with my emotions on his sole day of relaxation, especially since that's just the nature of the industry and he can't do anything about it. This is the guy I want to grow old with and have babies with. He's the one with whom I want to share the future. But then I think about how I feel on days like today, and I wonder if his career will ever allow him to be present. Am I okay with eating every meal and spending every holiday alone? Can I take on the responsibilities of the household and raising children essentially like a single parent? Can I deal with him only being home long enough to sleep? We're planning on moving in together within the next 6 months. I'm not sure if this will help our relationship or just prolong the inevitable. Maybe both. It's been tough, and I know it will only get tougher. I love him so much, but I don't know if I'm strong enough. I have to figure out what it is I need, and I'm terrified at the thought that maybe he can't give it to me. Just thinking about leaving him over the career I pushed him towards makes me feel sick to my stomach. And I caught a glimpse of the comments as I got to the bottom there, and I can already see there's stories of people with similar situations about their partners being chefs and how demanding the job is. So I'm wondering if this is going to come to an incompatibility issue down in the end. But there is parts of this that had me real sad for you, and that, that you feel like you didn't want to burden him with your feelings. I just kind of think, you're in a relationship. You need to be open about those feelings, about how you're feeling right now, or nothing will ever change. And I know that's why OP is here now on the subreddit asking the question, but I feel not asking those questions, just nothing will change eventually, and your relationship will continue to deteriorate, and you'll continue to feel this way. And I kind of liked, maybe like's not the right word, but OP was asking themselves the real questions towards the end, saying, am I okay eating every meal and spending every holiday alone? Can I take on the responsibilities of being a single parent and only being home long enough to sleep? And I think they're all real big questions for the future, but I think that conversation needs to happen first with your partner to find out what his thoughts are on it. But Danger Dan says, being a chef is a really, really demanding job with long hours and few breaks. I can completely understand how being in a relationship with one would have some difficult problems associated with it. One thing that worries me is this. I don't speak to him about my feelings of loneliness because I don't want to burden him with my emotions on his sole day of relaxation, especially since that's just the nature of the industry and he can't do anything about it. And then says, everyone can do something about it when things like this happen. He may be viewing this as putting in his time at the beginning of the career so that he can be more flexible in the future. Breaking up with him without first communicating with him and trying to figure out a compromise is premature. I know these things can seem obvious, but the extent of them and their consequences are often not things you can recognize without the other person bringing them up. Talk to him. He may already have a plan for transitioning out of the 70 to 80 hour weeks, or at least be open to coming up with one. 37 Pieces of Flair says, my boyfriend was a sous chef when we started dating a year and a half ago. He'd been a line cook, chef, etc. for over 5 years. It was really, really hard finding time to spend together. Usually got maybe 2 days off per week. They usually scheduled a mandatory meeting on a day off, so he only got half a day off. The days off were never consistent. I have a day job just like you, so we would look at his schedule each week and see what weeknights he might want to come over after work, anywhere from 7 PM to 2 AM, and sleep over, and see what weekend days or nights I could come to his place or do a day trip to see a drive-in movie, whatever sounded fun. Occasionally he had a day shift during the week and I went to his place. You get the idea. There were weeks where I saw him maybe once or twice while we slept. I had dinner together and slept. His schedules were grueling, 10 to 14 hours a day, shifts that ran a time frame between 5 AM to 2:30 AM. He could work a 5 PM to 2 AM shift and he'd be back at work at 1 AM. He did inventory, scheduling, hiring, prep, oversaw all the non-front of the house employees, ordered supplies, etc. A year into our relationship, he hit burnout, mainly because he felt like he was always babysitting his employees. They would forget or not care about their jobs. He could train them over and over on things and the work still didn't get done correctly. He quit. He's now working as a temp, possibly to be made permanent in 2 months, as a payroll clerk at a company. He loves only working 9 to 5 on weekends. The pay is a lot less for now, which I think is a huge adjustment for him. Almost a 40% pay cut. But he has a life again. He sleeps in on weekends, he still enjoys cooking, but it is for himself and people he likes and not for the masses. A lot of people in the restaurant industry become substance abusers. Cocaine, nicotine, alcohol, and caffeine are biggies. What it comes down to is the quality of life. Your boyfriend just started in the industry. He might stick with it for 2 years, or 10, or his whole life. If you want a future with him, you have to know that this schedule will fluctuate a lot. You could make plans for a day trip or vacation or dinner with friends and have to cancel or reschedule, sometimes more than once. You'll get saddled with a lot of the household needs, and if you have kids, he might not be able to take a very active role in raising them. There are some places in the industry where the hours might not seem so bad, such as nursing homes. My boyfriend got a job at one and the hours were okay. You need to sit down and think this through and have a very thorough conversation with him. And as I said, the comments pretty much followed on from there. Lots of people talking about, their partners being in the restaurant industry and their experiences with it, and the absolute madness hours that they were reeling off is crazy. And I'm sure some of you chefs as well in the comments, don't forget to let me know. But OP updated the story and said, not sure how many people have seen my previous post, but I figured I'd cater to those who commented and seemed to genuinely care about our situation. We finally had our much needed conversation last night. I felt horrible for bringing up such heavy topics right after he came home from work, stressed and exhausted, but it's the only time we ever have. I asked him the big questions. What's your 5-year career plan? Can you realistically work in the kitchen for the rest of your life? Is that what you really want? And at the mention of working in the kitchen for the rest of his life, behind eyelids drooping with exhaustion and the dark bags under them, came the sparkle and fire that I adore and feared would appear during the conversation. I want to run my own kitchen. I want to own my own restaurant. I'm making a name for myself and people are noticing. I want this and I know I can do it. I asked him if he realized what that meant in terms of raising a family, which he always said he wanted. He said it would stay like this, 12 to 16-hour shifts every day, getting home after midnight, his head hung down, and told me we could make it work. I can have breakfast with a family every morning and take the kids to school, he suggested. I told him I needed more from a partner. I want a normal life. I want to have dinner every night as a family. I want to read to our kids together at night. I want holidays and birthdays. He told me he can't give me any of that. I was hoping and praying the entire time that he would reformulate his career path. Maybe set his eyes on a comparable goal that would make a home life possible. But there's no comparison. After hours of talking, we realized this just wouldn't work. If we stayed together, either I would resent him for not being around or he would resent me for making me give up his dream. I would never strip him of that. This is the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. I almost wish he was an abusive, cheating arsehole. It would make moving on way easier. But no, he's wonderful and always has been so good to me. We're very much in love, and that's what makes this whole thing so horrible. I never envisioned the future without him, and he said he always thought he'd be sharing life successes with me. I wish I could be the one standing next to him through it all, but I'm just not cut out for the life he's offering me. And although I am glad we figured out our incompatibilities before marriage and children, I'm devastated. Sorry for the diary entry, Reddit. Thanks again for reading. And edit. Thank you to everyone for the kind words and for sharing their own personal experiences with me. The more I read, the more I know this breakup had to happen in order for us both to be happy with our lives down the line. I really appreciate the support I've received here for little heartbroken me. I never anticipated that Reddit would help me heal. And I found this story incredibly sad, especially at the end when they split up. But at the same time, I think it's better now that they split up rather than, when they have got kids, when they have got married or further down the line, that they found out these incompatibilities won't work for their relationship now, which I think is a pretty mature thing to do. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now this next story comes from a throwaway account. It does have an update as well. And it's titled, "Am I the arsehole for telling my brother I can't babysit my niece because me and my boyfriend planned a date night?" The place I, 28 female, worked at downsized and I lost my job earlier this year. I found another, but it pays significantly less. Me and my boyfriend Rob, 38 male, recently moved out as the rent was too high, and we've been looking for a more affordable place. My brother Jack, 36 male, let us stay at his place while we saw everything out, and we're grateful to him. Jack's profession means his work hours are all over the place. My niece Lacey, 3 female, usually stays with a sitter or her maternal grandparents while Jack's at work. Since I've been staying here, I've also looked after her a couple of times when I don't have other plans. A couple of days ago, Jack got called in unexpectedly and he asked if we could look after Lacey. The issue was that me and Rob were planning to go out for dinner and a movie later. I said sorry, but we couldn't. Jack got extremely pushy and said to take Lacey with us and he'll pay. But obviously me and Rob weren't on board with this, as it's supposed to be a date night, on top of the movie not being suitable for kids. He told us to reschedule, but we did end up going. Side note, it wasn't an emergency. Jack was able to call in and say he couldn't make it, but he's been really pissed at me and apparently his seniors aren't too happy with him. Again, we did apologize and Rob later said Jack should have planned better. He's still pretty mad at us, so am I the arsehole? Now usually on the babysitting stories, it comes down to the person whose kid it is. They should be finding their own sitters and they're not entitled to someone's time, etc, etc. I kind of feel differently in this one, seeing as he's given you a place to stay whilst the rent was too high and you're sorting everything out, and you said you were grateful to him, and I kind of feel like if I was in that situation, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, I'll help you out of this. And I kind of feel like I might get hate for that from past stories where you say you're not entitled to other people's time, etc. But I kind of feel differently in this one. But Lucky Ad says, you're the arsehole. Rob said Jack should have planned better. Rob and you are living in his bloody house and have the nerve to say he should have planned better. Lol. Squirrel Trap says, you're the arsehole. While I agree it's on Jack to find childcare for his kid, he's letting you live rent free. His help for you is significantly more than you babysitting for him a handful of times. I get that you don't have advance notice, that there's no reason to expect to be babysitting your niece on a whim. That said, your excuse not to babysit wasn't a very good excuse. I'd say the welfare of your niece trumps a date night that could easily be rescheduled. I get that you don't view this as an emergency, but it was for Jack. You put your plans to go have dinner and a movie over helping out your niece for Jack's work emergency, which worsened his career relationship, it sounds like. I can see why Jack was upset, seeing as he's helping you out a ton, but you tell him no to watching his daughter for a date night. The absolute least you could have done was watch her. You act like Jack asking and pleading didn't matter, but that date night did. You're the arsehole. Trekkie says, you're the arsehole. You've been living with your brother rent-free for months and can't repay the favor by moving your date night. He needed you to step up and all you thought about is yourself. If you were my sister, I would have kicked you out after what you did. Athena says, you're the arsehole. You're grateful to him for his generosity in letting you and your boyfriend stay at his place. Last minute requests for babysitting mean that you help out unless you've got a non-refundable, pricey tickets or are going somewhere others are dependent on you attending. Dinner and a movie can and should be rescheduled, despite you looking forward to it. It just sounds like you need to work on being a bit more flexible when life interferes with what you were planning to do in your head. And one more comment from Fuzi who says, oof, this is a tough one. I love that you have solid boundaries and that you're not letting yourself be walked over for childcare because your brother took you in. But the problem is, your brother really has not been taking advantage of you at all. Like not even a little. He's only been giving and generous. I'm sure it's not super convenient having 2 more people in the house, and I'm guessing his house bills are also going up. Doesn't sound like he's holding any of that over your head. He didn't even throw it in your face when he was clearly compromising his position at work. Considering he hasn't even put you in this kind of position before, I think it was your turn to give back and compromise one date night as a thank you, to let him know that you don't take his generosity for granted. Instead, as sweet and conflicted as you sound, you ultimately came off as a bit entitled. I know you likely haven't had a date night in ages and are under quite a bit of stress. That doesn't excuse the selfishness. You're both going to have to suck it up and just understand that you might have to make sacrifices like this sometimes while you navigate this stage. Then OP updates the post, which says it's pretty late but quite a bit has happened, so I thought I'd update. To answer some common questions I noticed. 1. Yes, Rob works. He's not unemployed. 2. People asking what type of job Jack has that has such odd hours. He's a surgeon. 3. We've been here for 3 weeks. Long story short, after Jack got home, we all had a serious discussion. I had already talked to Mum about the situation and she told us to move to hers. So me and Rob will be moving out of Jack's place tomorrow. Jack basically told us we need to leave and I said it's already been sorted. Again, we thanked him for letting us stay. He made some snarky comments about how we shouldn't be going out anywhere to save for rent. Not for this situation specifically. We're going on a family holiday in December, so I think he was jabbing at that. This doesn't make much sense to me as he and Lacey are going on an expensive European holiday for the New Year's, but okay. Had enough. I eventually just replied that I hope he never has to go through any type of struggle. He actually even got Lacey involved against us. Apparently she saw him crying last night and this little 3-year-old came up to us saying that we made her daddy sad. Something along those lines. But yeah, that's about it and we'll be moving out. Edit. He got called into work that day as a standby surgeon or something like that. He wasn't the lead surgeon, so he was able to say he couldn't make it and they called someone else. And also, as I mentioned, me and Rob both did apologize to him, and Rob also did for saying the thing about planning, which I also agree he shouldn't have said. And a couple of commenters were talking about the OP in the comments that they made below their own post, and they quoted him saying, "It's nothing like that, I'll explain a bit. Jack had a one-night stand with Lacey's mum, and she passed from pregnancy complications. Our parents, especially Dad, told him to cut contact with Lacey's mum, but he didn't, and this caused a massive blow-up. They pretty much shunned him after that. Our parents reached out to him a couple of years ago to apologize, but he ignores them and wants nothing to do with them. We have 4 other siblings and 3 of them no longer interact with Jack either. Also another comment. Also, Jack's had serious issues in the past with our parents, and I'm one of the few immediate family members that still support and keep in touch with him. So he also has something to be grateful for. The commenter went on to say, I may be totally misreading this, but the serious issue he had with the parents is that he wouldn't cut contact with the mother of his daughter before she passed, as they could not have foreseen her dying. I'm assuming they wanted him to cut contact with his child as well. Good for Jack for cutting contact with them instead. If support from these people includes cutting contact with your child, then they don't sound that great to begin with. You do not keep contact with relatives, so they'll be grateful to you. You do it because you love them. The OP sounds awful, and frankly, if those 3 siblings are like the parents and OP, Jack is well rid of them. Commenters also said info. Do you pay rent to your brother? Do you buy your own food or contribute to groceries? OP says, we buy our own groceries, cook and clean for ourselves. I wouldn't have had a problem if we didn't have plans. I've looked after Lacey other times. I know he's done a very kind thing for us, but at that moment on such short notice, I was feeling conflicted. I do agree Rob shouldn't have said the thing about planning, but we were both tired of Jack acting so pissed around us, and we apologized. Also, Jack's had serious issues in the past with our parents, and I'm one of the few immediate family members that still support and keep in touch with him, so he also has something to be grateful for. A commenter said, so you don't pay rent or contribute to the house outside of your own personal needs. OP replies saying, I clean up around the house when I can, when I'm not at work, etc. And I've also made dinner for all of us. Also, wanted to add that Jack is very well off. He earns well and owns his home. I'm not saying that this means his work doesn't matter or something. It definitely does, just providing some more info. Commenter says, let me guess, because Jack is so well off, other family members have been leeching off him and he finally put his foot down. Careful, that could happen to you too. You're the arsehole, and the more you defend yourself, the more of an arsehole you appear to be. OP replies saying it's nothing like that. I'll explain a bit. Jack had a one-night stand with Lacey's mum and then went down that path again, but included a new bit which says our parents reached out to him a couple of years ago to apologize, but he ignores them and wants nothing to do with them. We have 4 other siblings and 3 of them no longer interact with Jack either. We'd already bought the movie tickets. No, maybe I didn't word it well. After Lacey's mum contacted Jack saying she was pregnant from their one-night stand, parents told him to cut contact in case she was making it up or the baby was someone else's, but he didn't. This caused a blow up and parents pretty much stopped talking to him. Then a couple of years ago they reached out and apologized for before, but he wants nothing to do with them. Gee fucking whiz. Now, what do you guys make of this story? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below as always, and just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, support and time always means the absolute world, not just to me, not just the channel, but to other people that you interact with in the channel as well. It's absolutely amazing. Keep being you, keep being awesome, keep being super cheeky as well, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today